All right, guys, we are live, and everybody, thank you for joining us for this episode, this special live episode. It was last minute. I definitely I have some cool cats joining me tonight. This is only our second live stream, so apologize for any of the rough edges that are going on. But we're closing in. We're on the eve of election night, and one of the things that really was on my mind, a lot of our members' mind, was trading into an election. What that mindset really is of a trader. So I decided to call up some friends of mine. I have John Najarian, a trader for God knows how many administrations. He's the bubbly host of CNBC's Halftime Report, co-founder of MarketRebellion.com. Him and his brother have been in this business for quite some time and are experts and thought leaders in it. I also have joined with me Steve Ehrlich. Steve Ehrlich is the CEO of Voyager, one of the largest, most prolific U.S. crypto trading brokerage apps around, really smashing it up, killing it. He's the former CEO of Lightspeed Financial, which sold to E-Trade, and he took a top executive position there at E-Trade for a number of years. And also I have another friend of mine, Scott Freeman. Scott Freeman is the founding partner, one of the founding partners and portfolio managers over at JST Capital, which is a relatively high-profile crypto hedge fund, as well as prolific market maker in the space. He is a former MD at Bank of America, running their electronics foreign exchange trading unit. And before that, impressive career as an attorney. We don't fault him on that. He worked as an attorney for the Federal Reserve as well as the Manhattan DA's office as a prosecutor. I also have our Trade the Chain community ambassador, Wesley Nelson, my co-host, Ryan Gorman, who is known for the best hair in crypto. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I mean, I think I called everybody in the last hour and pieced this together. So thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that's really on everybody's mind, and not everybody knows exactly what to expect or what to do with their portfolio or how they should be thinking is we're going into an election. An election changes a lot of things. And not only are we just going into an election, we're going into an extraordinary one. It's a very tumultuous election. Administrations can change the mindset of where the economy goes if there's consumer confidence behind it. One of the big things I ever heard was from John Najarian, who we have here, and that was, and then correct me if I'm wrong, John. I may not get this right, but it always stuck in my mind. And it was, listen, I don't trade administrations, I trade the markets. And that kind of stuck with me. So I wanted to get these guys together and kind of get their thoughts. And John, I'll start with you. It doesn't matter people's political views or anything else. This is just about, what should be in the head of people when they're sitting behind their desk and trading. And what are your first thoughts? You've been through many administrations.
I'd say that the initial move, it's a lot like what is it? The BLS report, the employment report that comes out on a Friday, and there will be one on this Friday too, Alex. So when those come out, it's almost always a fade, which way it goes initially. Now, this is something that we all understand is likely to play out for days, several days, if not week or weeks, because of the way that they count the mailed-in ballots. They could have been mailed, in some cases, up until tomorrow. So obviously, they won't even get them for a few more days, and they get, I think, 8 days in the case of North Carolina or something.
And it's been record-breaking, too, I believe.
Yeah. So I would say that just as Alex said, that you trade the market you got, not the one you want. And that just means that, for those of us either with no hair like me or with gray hair, it's a question of, okay, did you trade through Clinton? Did you trade through Reagan? Did you trade through, Bush 1, Bush 2, Obama, right, now Trump? And the answer is if you did and you made money, you don't really fear it because you're going to react to what the market gives you in whatever that is. If it's Obama and they end up doing healthcare, you're going to buy the crap out of the health insurers because he's virtually forcing people into purchasing healthcare insurance. So I think I'll put a cap on it here, Alex. I think number one, if it's Biden, nothing happens till after January 20th. And then nothing really happens until March because whatever he gets, it's going to go through the House and the Senate. You guys all know that. By the time it gets pushed out, that is going to be in March. That's why I've said that it's such a big mistake that they haven't given any stimulus since July 31st. But again, you trade the market you got, not the one you want. So what I would say is if it's Biden and a blue Congress, I think it's going to be really good for EEM, emerging markets. I think it would be very good for crypto, huge for crypto.
If it goes blue.
Yeah, because they're going to tack on 3 to 5 trillion in debt, with a new stimulus.
Right.
I don't think it's nearly that big if the Republicans are there. That's under a blue wave, guys. I'm saying that.
Right. But Democrats have been outspoken in their opposition to crypto and blockchain.
Oh yeah, I don't think they'll go after it, Ryan. I think it'll be the world's reaction to degrading the dollar. If you degrade the go-to currency that severely, that's why I don't think the Democrats are going to embrace. Nobody in government seriously wants to embrace crypto because it means they're stuck. They're this close to Europe when they do that because they won't be able to print money. And that's why Satoshi did it, right? Because he was against the printing of money that they could do. So if you think one of the administrations would dramatically increase cash and money supply and everything else, I think that's good for crypto.
I think the industry kicks in at that point, really.
Yeah.
Around the world, like dominoes.
Yep.
Accelerates.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a good point, when it comes to, first of all, we have a lot of correlation with the equity markets and crypto, and you mentioned the stimulus package, a package that has not been signed, regardless of whose fault it is. Americans received one $1,200 check back in whenever. We all forgot about it at this point. They haven't got a second one. I mean, there's just so much chaos going on just in traditional economy that really, I mean, you look at MicroStrategies, you look at Square, you look at all these economies. I mean, you have Steve's company now, which is listed in one of the Bitcoin crypto treasury holdings in the top 10. I mean, traditional businesses are looking for a way out almost. It's crazy. I mean, Steve, what is your point on?
We are just telling, and speaking to clients and seeing it from all the clients, loading up on Bitcoin, loading up on some of the other cryptos, taking any dollars they have with us and moving it straight into, because I think John's right. No matter what happens out here, you're going to see either, the Democrat blue wave, and you're going to see more and more people coming into the crypto because there is going to be that stimulus, but it's still going to take time for that to happen. The incumbent holds space and stays in, then again, it's back to there's going to be more volatility in the market. We talked about it earlier, there's all sorts of boarding up of cities because of how this may come up. That's volatility. The only way to play that is to go, from a crypto perspective, is get into the Bitcoin or some of the other tokens, but we're seeing a lot more into Bitcoin. We're seeing people just piling in now, and they're getting ready for what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, and it's huge for us. And you
Well, I
get
mean, it clearly shows from just even reading the report last week. Listen, your company's done phenomenal. Your quarterly earnings were up, astronomical over last year. So it just goes to show how much money is pouring into crypto. Voyager is highly successful year over year so far, but it's also across the board. I mean, I think there's just a wave of it.
it's a wave, and look, we've been really successful over the last year. Our quarter was great, but it's not stopping yet. The amount of people that are coming in, it's kind of why we did, with Tracy McGrady as well, because we're trying to get more people to understand that this is the wave of the future. You digital assets, Bitcoin, USDC, earning interest on those things, more and more are coming. They're giving up, they're putting a percent of their wealth into crypto and trying to create more wealth for themselves, because it's a hedge against what's going to happen, in the marketplace.
And before I go to Scott, let me ask you this, because I did trade a few fun emails with you, but did you work into the contract with him that you get to play like unlimited one-on-one basketball?
I probably stand a foot shorter than him. I do want a Tracy McGrady signed Knick jersey, because I think that was good for about half a year or a year. I gotta have something good to do in the Knicks fan, right? You're really not watching basketball.
I'm pretty sure you can get it. No worries.
I'll take on.
Scott, being a trader for as many years as you've been a trader, and dealing with this, and you're in the market making business, so something around an election affects volume and volatility, as well as various other aspects of crypto investing. What are your thoughts going in now? From my point of view, I have a lot of clients taking open interest and options on Deribit particularly, although open interest on options across the board. Everybody's saying, Alex, I got to get my trades in locked before the election. What are your thought processes with that? And what are you preparing for?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of the same themes that Steve was mentioning. Look at the institutional business, where we focus. We've really seen about two themes that have really been interesting. One is the short term. There are a lot of short-term trading opportunities here. There's been a lot of dislocations in the market. We saw volatility come off for a little bit. Really up until the last day or so, the volatility has picked up again. We expect there will be more volatility. I think people are waiting on the sidelines to wait to see what happens. If you remember back to the last election when Trump won, the S&P sold off. They had been down overnight. I'm sure most people remember that, and bounced back up the next day. It was down 5% within like a few hours. It came right back up. I think John mentioned, which is what we expect as well, this could take days and weeks. So I think that uncertainty will hang over this market for a while. We expect that the longer term guys, the people who are piling into it, will slow down a little bit. But we do see the same theme that Steve mentioned, where you have more and more people coming into it. And the PayPal announcement, every week there's another announcement, and more people getting access to crypto. So we still think that there'll be some short-term trading opportunities as this volatility plays out in the market. You'll have jumps in volatility, and then waiting, and jumps in volatility. But we do see longer term, if you're in it for the longer term, we're essentially telling people there's no reason to get out of it. You're in it, just stay in it. Wait out the storm. The storm will blow over at some point. But look for those short-term trading opportunities to take advantage of the volatility or just dislocations in the market. We are bullish on the whole ecosystem. We think that there will be tremendous growth this year and next year in the ecosystem that's starting to flow through some of the altcoins now. We think that trend will continue into the first quarter next year once we get through the selection cycle. I think it's hard to predict whether a blue wave or a red wave, how that will affect the crypto ecosystem. I think this administration has not been really friendly to Silicon Valley. I think the Democratic administration will be more friendly. But how does that translate into crypto and things like that? It's really hard to predict. I mean, look at the OCC data in the U.S. It's pretty bullish, right? And that's under a Republican administration that wasn't favorable to Silicon Valley. One interesting thing is this is a global market, right? Crypto is a global business. So we think it'll be very interesting. A lot of the trends do come out of Asia. We think that will continue as well. So we're getting calls from Asian clients all day. They're all like, the guys who are in the market are just sitting on the bench. They're not adding to positions other than just taking advantage
You mentioned short-term trade opportunities. You know, a lot of times when traditional markets sell off, Bitcoin falls in tandem as people go more risk off cash and try to cover shorts. Assets. I mean, given all the positive momentum lately, do you think that that's still going to be the case now after the mini dip over the weekend before it kind of rebounded, or do you think Bitcoin will be more resilient?
You know, that's a good question. Like earlier in the year, there was a really low correlation of Bitcoin to other assets. The correlation picked up over the summer and fall. We expect that correlation will start breaking down again next year. There are some real reasons why we think those correlations came into effect. We think longer term, there's really no reason for Bitcoin to be correlated to the S&P or to trades. We've seen that. We just honestly don't understand it. Our macro guys want to kind of shake their head at it. But we think you have to kind of get through the election cycle. We need to like de-risk the world a little bit, and then we'll start seeing that breakout.
Makes sense.
And does it, does it matter, is there a thought on whether it's red or blue if there's going to be more or less volatility? Or is it just going to be the same no matter what?
We just want red history, like make a decision. It's get on with life. Like I think we're all just eager to like get on with life already. Like if I get one more phone call to donate or one more text message to donate some election, I may lose my mind.
It brings up a third point though, that what about option 3, which is a dragged out contested election?
That'll be brutal.
It's not going to be fun.
That, I mean, for traders, but yeah, that is the thing I think people they're not considering. I think it's going to be binary, either or. And I see the odds of a contest, or from either party, there's a very real chance of happening.
I think, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. You guys, Scott, Steve, and John, you're more the experts than I am in this space. But if the election is contested, that uncertainty, that should be good for Bitcoin and for other digital assets, shouldn't it?
Our
Should
thought,
be.
yeah, it's our thought as well. A race to buy more crypto. You'll see that hit the 15,000 mark pretty quickly if you have, we all do, a contested election, which probably will happen one way or another.
Yeah.
Weston, I mean, Weston is, the community manager of our TradeTheChain.com folks, and a lot of traders there, and they were coming to him, and he really precipitated this whole live stream coming together. But Weston, what were some of the sentiments that you were getting, some of the questions being asked to you from the guys about, hey, they were worrisome or something like that?
Yeah, so a couple things. I mean, I think everybody in the United States or the world is a little bit spooked right now, but especially traders and investors, who are trying to figure out how to navigate, these murky waters. And there's this big change. I think Rob Paul called it a wall of money coming to the blockchain space from institutions and everything, but people are afraid because they don't know, is blockchain really going to actually swallow up the global markets, and then my dollar denominated stocks are worth nothing? Or it's like what should I do? And then elections going on, and so yeah, just a lot of more. And I have a strategy and plan, so I feel more comfortable, but I sense just so much fear that it's like, I think just people need to be more informed about what is actually occurring and how you can protect yourself, essentially.
That makes sense for sure. I think having that plan makes a huge difference in terms of just kind of winging it and feeling your way through it. And, being able to lean on guys like John and Steve and Scott and getting their wisdom from this webinar is ideal for everyone in the community and others watching as well.
Yeah, I mean, John, take me back to like, let's call it the Clinton and Bush elections, and when you were still down in the pits back then. I mean, when you were managing your P&L and you were going into this week into elections, I mean, what was your mindset? What were you thinking? Because for you, it was it's like eat what you kill. you're down there with a bunch of hungry scavengers, and you just want to come out on top, right, with as few bruises as possible.
Yeah.
Hey, what were you thinking? Because it is the great unknown when you go into a situation like this, and really, I'm hoping that there's a lot of young or new traders that are watching this saying, "What the crap? I want to learn from mistakes. I don't want to create the mistakes."
Well, here's a couple metrics
Well said.
that Scott and Wes, Ryan, Alex, you guys are all going to like them, and I think the viewers will like them too. Number one, going into the election 2016, the VIX on that night was 1510, 15.10. It popped 55%, woohoo, and got up to 24. And then, of course, like you say, accurately, or Scott said, I forget which, it flipped and it went from basically lock limit down, Trump's bad for the market, to all of a sudden Orange Man good for market, and it came all the way back, right? So
Orange Man, I love it.
the right now the VIX was down today to 37. So it's much more than double where it was. And a 37 implies a 2.5% move thereabouts, 2.33% move in the market. Now, it's getting up there to Bitcoin. Last I checked, Bitcoin was hanging around at 2.7 volatility, which would be, roughly, just shy of a 3% volatility reading. 3% is 48. So when the regular volatility of the S&P 500 is pushing up against the volatility of Bitcoin, and obviously a lot of digital assets are much higher than that, but I think it shows you how uncertain or how long people think it might take to declare a candidate a winner.
Mhm.
And it might only take the president one day. That's what he said.
That's what he's hoping for.
Yeah. What am I hoping for?
No, I said that's what he's hoping for. I would never ask you what you're hoping for.
Oh, okay. I think, by the way, that best for the market, not necessarily best for Bitcoin, would be a split Congress that it is right now. Red Senate, blue House, and then it doesn't matter who the president is, because neither one of them, it's either going to be Trump's lame duck turn, or it would be Biden can't get through tax changes and all that stuff. So, and the judges, and or making Puerto Rico a state and Washington D.C. a state, the packing the court peers, all those things. Go away with a split Congress. Now, on the other hand, we wouldn't get nearly the stimulus, so it's not nearly as good for Bitcoin. But it certainly doesn't hurt Bitcoin. So like I say, if you're a Bitcoiner and if you're a hodler and you just want to hold it and watch it rock, yeah, sure, a blue wave is best for you. But if you're a trader, like most of us on this call are, even if you hold some in reserve all the time, you'd probably like to see, some different outcomes than just a big sugar high, and then who knows where we go from there.
So Bitcoin has actually ridden up during the past two election cycles, the only two that it's been in existence for, and it's gone up into this third election cycle. I mean, there are strong fundamentals behind this rise up, but there are a growing number of people who think that maybe it's been overbought a bit. Simon Peters at eToro mentioned that not too long ago, maybe a day or two ago, and then shortly after he said that, Bitcoin did drop over the weekend. Do you buy into that, or do you think that the fundamentals are strong enough to keep it going higher? I guess maybe, I'm not looking for a price target, but do you think it has the resilience, even if the election doesn't go in favor of it, that the positive price action could continue?
absolutely. I think there's so many positives still right now, Ryan. I'll let Scott and Alex and Wes opine. I think that when PayPal opted in as well, so it wasn't just Square, which makes it super easy and all that, but then when PayPal comes aboard, and you've got Dorsey over at Square buying 50 million, and you've got PayPal saying, "Yeah, we're in the game too." I think those were big game changers. Just
PayPal didn't
fantastic for the long
PayPal
term.
realized they got to acquire a company because there's domain expertise that they don't have.
Yep.
It's like, whoa, they just know, okay, this is the direction. We got to make a move now. You know.
Yeah, I would double, back what John said there was that, Westwood use, I mean, they came in, they don't know much about the domain, they're offering a couple of coins. There's a lot more to the ecosystem than just being able to offer it through a quick, simple, easy app at 3% spreads or whatever they charge. I mean, and there's a lot more to it. And I think, what the PayPal thing showed me too was that, that a lot of people were fearful of coming into Bitcoin because they thought it could go to zero. The chances of it going backwards to that 0 point is gone. It's out. I mean, it's nearly impossible.
It's not at all.
Nearly impossible.
I think it probably is impossible at this point. I think there's only upside to that. And therefore, then on top of it, it is, it's still somewhat volatile, as John pointed out, and a lot of the altcoins are too. I think finding the right ones behind that gives you some trading opportunity over the next couple of weeks on some of those coins. And long term, though, both I think upside on quite a few of these coins, especially Bitcoin. I just think there's no going back to where we were 10 years ago. It's only upward and forward.
I mean, see, this has to be good news for you. I mean, volatility is every brokerage and exchange's friend, right? So it's where we all make our money on execution and stuff like that. And then there's also this, all this big chatter on the altcoin rise coming, with this. So, I mean, for you, it's almost like a double win. I mean, are you seeing the same thing? Are you seeing altcoins power through this and kind of create their own rise over the next quarter, 2, 3 quarters?
Yeah, we expect it actually. We think that we're going to see quite a bit more volatility in the altcoins over the next couple of months. But I also, look, we've changed our model slightly too. We're all in on trading and the volatility related to that, but we realized that to create wealth for people, we had to give the interest, and by doing both and with no lockups, people can actually trade the altcoins and Bitcoin and double down with USDC because the digital backed currency, the dollar backed currency, people are creating wealth interest wise. But we do believe that there's a lot of volatility coming our way and altcoins as well, and a lot of upside in that too. I mean, there's just so many good projects that are starting to get done and starting to really take shape that the next 3 to 6 months are just a lot of upside in altcoins.
Yeah, and Scott, I mean, you as a market maker and a pretty prolific one in this space, to some pretty big name coins, which I will not mention. But when with volatility, does this enhance the market making business in crypto, just like as it would on the traditional, let's call it equity markets?
Listen, you make markets, volatility is challenging sometimes. You like some volatility, big volatility makes it more challenging. But we think that volatility will pick up, I think, until the election gets resolved. Most of our clients honestly are looking for either shorter term trading opportunities or just holding on to their positions right now. Volatility has increased in the last week or so. We think it'll probably stay here for the next week or two until the election gets resolved. We are bullish on next year. We also are bullish on the whole DeFi space. We haven't spoken about that at all. I think what's going on in the DeFi and how that evolves next year will be really, it's almost like crypto was in 2017, 2018. That's where we think the DeFi market is.
Except now materializing into
Right.
real use case, utility.
There's a lot of pretty cool stuff going on in the market right now.
Looking at DeFi, a lot of these projects when they're announced, they pop at the launch and then they kind of just drift downward or crash downward. And CJ and Monty,
That's a better word, right?
our the Shade episode, they were talking about how a a few of them have kind of settled into their natural price, which should be the fair value. Do you think do you disagree with that sentiment? Do you think that there's still a bit of pop and a drift upward for them, or do you think that they've at least leveled off for the near term?
You know, I think we have challenges saying, attributing any fundamental value to a lot of the assets in DeFi, right? Because these are not equities. There's nothing behind a lot of them but a promise of what to do going forward. I think it is a very volatile space. The space will continue to be volatile. But I think there's a lot of good projects that are coming out now. With those projects are opportunities to make money, and our clients are constantly asking for us for revenue opportunities. And we put a lot of money and energy into DeFi, and we think that for people looking for returns in this ecosystem, I think that's a good market for next year.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, I sat down and had dinner with Stani, who's the founder of Aave, which just did the Land Aave migration in London a couple of weeks ago, and talking about mortgages and proper lending products. I think DeFi is, right now we're going through a phase of kind of shaking out the DeFi projects, kind of like we did with the ICO projects. I think it is important to the space. I think it's still a very volatile market, but in the long run, it's going to be a transformational tool in the ecosystem for sure. Listen, I've taken up a lot of your guys' time in the this evening. I'm sure you're prepping your own trades for tomorrow, but one last kind of parting thing is, is everybody here bullish on Bitcoin for the post-election?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
100%.
Maybe short-term drop on uncertainty, because I think outside of that, it's got to go up. I mean, not got to, but the fundamentals are there.
Yeah, look at the macro. Look what's happening in the world. Blockchain is eating the world. I mean, literally everything will be tokenized, and that you can't argue with that. Software ate the world. It's the same. It's an extension of that. So yeah, long term, for sure. Short term, Brian, like I said, yeah, it could be people pullbacks, but yeah, it's a good buy.
Absolutely. And Steve, I know you're bullish on Bitcoin, but really in the end, you're kind of like me. Let's just keep the people trading.
Yeah, trading, accumulate wealth. Look, I said it the other day in some podcast. I'm a believer at 15K, and I know I don't like to do that, but 15K by the end of the year with Bitcoin. My COO is just on the chart, and he thinks it's going to be sooner than that, Thanksgiving time for that. So we're bullish on the whole industry. Obviously, we would be in it, and two, I think what Wes said, we think everything's going to get tokenized over time, and be able to trade stocks, all that stuff. I think it's options and stocks with Bitcoin as your denomination and USDC. That's coming. Trust me, it's coming. It's going to be. It's where everything should be fungible. At the end of the day, it's your cash, your assets should be fungible 24/7. There's no reason why we don't. We're not like that.
Yeah, and transparent.
Yep.
Fast.
Listen, I think 15K is a great year-end realistic price. Obviously, you'll every week of Fridays I steal John's two crypto analysts, CJ and Monty. So this Friday we'll see where those technicals are going on Bitcoin charts. But I want to thank everybody for joining this evening. Thank you for the short notice. It's going to be interesting tomorrow, to say the least. John Nigerian, MarketRebellion.com. Go visit him over there. You got Steve Ehrlich, CEO of Voyager, InvestVoyager.com. You got Scott Freeman, JCCap.com. He probably don't want me. He's a very private wealth manager in crypto, but I'm still going to plug him. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have a great evening. And hopefully, whoever you're rooting for tomorrow wins. But like John said, it's probably not going to be for a couple of weeks.
Thanks.
Guys.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Scott.
John, nice to see you.